Hey guys, I'm Tim from MrMaple.com. Smash that like button if you like yellow. Yes, we're talking about yellow. A little bit of the yellow dance because we're talking about my top 5 yellow Japanese maples of the week. You know, we're MrMaple.com. We're a Japanese maple mail order business. We ship directly to your door and we do over 1,000 varieties of Japanese maples. So sign up for our weekly emails on MrMaple.com because we add at least 10 new plants every single Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And guess what? Some of those are going to be yellow. Man, I love the color yellow. Yellow does so much in the landscape. It brightens and brings out so much colors in the landscape. It allows you to see each and every shade of green and makes you see great contrast with a lot of other colors, especially those reds that many other Japanese maples provide. Yellow is amazing. We've got a whole video on how to use yellow in the garden and landscape, but I'm going to give you 5 awesome Japanese maples that are yellow that you need in your garden. Guys, I'm standing in a sea of Dragon Master. Dragon Master leaves out orange but then goes to yellow. And this is a weeping selection, so it has a heavily cascading habit. This plant is pretty spectacular. This is one of those plants that can easily be trained and shaped in so many different ways. I mean, I love this thing. These are low grass right now, so you can grow them in a hanging basket. That's always a very cool way to do that. I mean, just let it put it in a hanging basket, let it cascade down below the pot. It's going to have an extremely cascading habit. So if you take it and you stake it straight up, it's going to be able to cascade off of that and create almost a fountain-like effect. Dragon Master goes to a bright red in the fall, but the best way to get the very best yellow colors on Dragon Master is to push it out in a little more sunlight. If you give it in full sun and super hot zone, it will give some burn. But put it in a container and test its sunlight and push it out as much as you can, because when it gets those blonde highlights during the summer from getting some sunlight on it, this tree is a rock star. Dragon Master was a selection from us here at MrMaple.com. You know, it's yellow. You know, we were paying attention to yellow plants. But Dragon Master, Matt and I were like, man, this thing is amazing. And, you know, Ryu, which you see often in Ryusen and some of the other weeping types, means dragon. And so we thought, why not the master of them all, Dragon Master? This is an awesome plant to add so many colors in the landscape, and it will complement very well to Mukiyamas, Verdices, and a lot of other weeping Japanese maples in the landscape. We can also pair this next to a Bloodgood or an Emperor One and give you the exact same contrast in the color and a contrast in its style and weeping habit as well. Awesome plant. Guys, I'm standing right here with an Acer shirason selection. It's a bright, bright yellow. It gets more and more yellow as the summer goes along. We're talking about Acer shirason Jordan. This is a selection by Fratelli Ghirardelli Nursery in Italy. And Ghirardelli Nursery introduced some amazing plants, from Orange Dream to Fire Glow to Summer Gold. A very cool, neat thing that a lot of people don't realize is that Summer Gold and Acer shirason Jordan are sister seedlings. And this is what I've been told, and that they're both hybrid with Acer shirason x palmatum. Summer Gold looked more palmatum-like, and Jordan looked more shirason, and so hence that's how they were labeled. But they're amazing, amazing plants. Jordan is like a much faster growing Acer shirason aureum, the golden full moon Japanese maple. You'll notice the new growth flushes look a little more palmatum, but as this plant matures, if you go look at a mature Jordan out in the landscape, we've got a full video on Acer shirason Jordan where you can actually see an Acer shirason Jordan in Flat Rock, North Carolina at one of our good friends, Dr. John Criticos' house, and it's amazing. The older flushes of growth, the older growth becomes more and more Acer shirason aureum-like. The leaves are almost indistinguishable. The main difference is that this one can handle a little more sun and it's a lot more vigorous. It's an amazing plant. It goes to a bright red in the fall. Acer shirason Jordan, it's a rock star out in the landscape and garden. In fact, Matt, whenever he married Amy, she said, I really like that highlighter plant in your mom and dad's garden. And they dug up the Jordan from my mom and dad's garden and brought it to their home where they live now. So, I mean, it's an amazing plant. It makes a statement out in the landscape because it really can give some unreal colors of bright yellow that give good contrast out in the garden and landscape. And that's the name of the game with yellow. You want something that's going to stand out and give good contrast. I'm standing here in a sea of orangeolas, and you can see how shirason Jordan stands out against these plants. I mean, the bright yellow that this one can get, and it gets more and more yellow as the summer goes on, is just simply amazing. Shirason Jordan, an awesome plant you should definitely try out in your garden. Let's go check out another yellow plant. And guys, we just mentioned Summer Gold being that it was a sister seedling with Acer Shirason Jordan. But did you know there's a variegated sport that was found on Acer palmatum Summer Gold? It's called Acer palmatum and Irene. And this plant is amazing. Now, right now, we're seeing a lot of yellow on this plant. But if you see this tree when it first leaves out with sunlight, it has a frilly edge, a margined variegation that is very unusual and very different. But it can be an orange in the springtime. And so you get a contrast with the orange on the outside of the leaf with the yellow on the interior part of the leaf. And Irene is just as heat tolerant as palmatum Summer Gold. But you need to make sure that it gets established in the landscape, and then you won't see any more burn on the leaves once it's gotten established. But this is a plant that can be a little bit taller sometimes, 8 to 10 foot in height. So sometimes it's a little more vigorous than Summer Gold itself, which is unusual for a variegated sport. You know I love the color yellow, and you add in the fact that it's variegated, and Irene is pretty spectacular. This is a plant that's just now really starting to hit the scene, and it's no wonder why, because it gives you everything you love about some of the classic plants like Summer Gold, but with a little extra flair. So Irene is a rock star whenever it comes to a yellow Japanese maple, because you get some orange in the spring, and in the fall you can get the same pink-red colors that you get out of Summer Gold. And you see here, I'm standing over top of some Geisha Gone Wilds. One variegated sport with another variegated sport, those two complement each other well. That's the reason I came and stood here, is because this yellow can contrast against so many cool plants. And it's so easily used out in the landscape because this is a yellow that's more heat tolerant, more sun tolerant. So get one of these and try it out in your garden. Let's go check out another yellow Japanese maple. Guys, I'm standing here with a sessilifolium type. This means it has that angel feather leaf structure where each lobe of the leaf is so deeply divided that it looks like its own leaf. I love this style of Japanese maple. The specific one I'm standing with is Acer palmatum Hanazuhagaromo, also known as Orange Hagaromo. Now you may notice this tree has a little more yellow-green color right now. When this tree first leaves out, it's a bright orange, and that's where it gets the name of Orange Hagaromo. And then it goes to a yellow. And it really has a much more yellow-green than any of the other Japanese maples for the rest of the year. I love this style of sessilifolium. It actually has a very different habit than Koshi Minnow and Hagaromo. They are often very tall and narrow, where this is a plant that's going to be shorter and more bush-like. That means it's got a completely different shape. Often this is a plant that could be 5 to 6 feet tall by about 4 to 5 foot wide in 10 years. So it's a very unusual Japanese maple. It's going to be a master gardener stump plant because the leaves look nothing like a Japanese maple, but it gives you some great colors, from that orange spring color to that more yellow color in the garden that's going to give you good contrast. And being a more compact Hagaromo type, it's going to give you an interesting texture with a very soft feel on a more shrub-like Japanese maple. This is a really cool Japanese maple that's really not produced enough in the nursery trade, but it is unusual, it's very different, and if you've ever seen some of our Japanese maple weirdos, a lot of these angel feather types we consider a Japanese maple weirdo because there's not a lot that fits in this category. And Hanazuhagaromo is one of the ones that gives you very unique colors with that sessilifolium angel feather leaf structure. Hanazuhagaromo, another yellow Japanese maple you need in your garden. Let's go check out another yellow Japanese maple. Guys, last but definitely not least, probably one of my favorite yellow Japanese maples is this selection right here. It's another one from the Area 51 collection here at MrMaple.com. This is Acer Olive Veranum Hot Blonde. We have a heat sticker series, which is Acer Olive Veranum selections. Now, we often say that we like Japanese maples that have superpowers, and Acer Olive Veranum can hybridize with Japanese maples and add extra heat tolerance to a Japanese maple-like tree that looks very, very similar, but is extremely, extremely heat tolerant. And Hot Blonde is exactly that. This is a tree that leaves out a little olive and then turns yellow fairly quickly. Orange to apricot new growth on this plant is amazing, along with an orange border sometimes in the early spring. This plant is exceptionally fast grower and is extremely heat tolerant. We've seen these trees handle full sun on the coast of South Carolina and not skip a beat. People in Texas love our Heat Seeker series, especially our Hot Blonde, because of how heat tolerant this selection is. Acer Oliveranum Hot Blonde, it's the Acer Oliveranum X, is an exceptional yellow that grows extremely fast. It can put on over a foot of growth in a year, sometimes 2 feet of growth, because Japanese maples have growth spurts. But this plant is outstanding. I've seen us have a 3-foot plant in a year, and you know, it doesn't require a lot of fertilizer. It's not like we're over fertilizing, it's just a good grower. Hot Blonde though has one of the best fall colors. It can go to a bright orange red. I mean, the fall color on this is so exceptional that we had sent this to Talon Buchholz, and he was sending me photos of the fall color and saying, wow, check this out. Have you seen Hot Blonde do this? And I'm like, yeah, it's pretty amazing. Hot Blonde, it's impressed us quite a bit. It impressed Talon Buchholz, and he actually has started producing it, which is an honor for us to see one of our good mentors and friends starting to carry some of our selections. But this plant has impressed a lot of people all around the world, so much so that we were contacted for a while about people in Europe possibly patenting it. And you know, we didn't patent it, but this is a plant that's probably worth it. I mean, this is a plant that's super fast growing, gives you a lot of bright yellow, and it is the most heat tolerant yellow Japanese maple ever exists so far. This plant is exceptional, and it's going to be a tree that'll shine in the garden. I knew that we had something special in the beginning when we'd have a set of, you know, maybe 50 of these, and someone would come shopping at the nursery and they'd pick out a Hot Blonde, and then 2 weeks later they'd come back and they'd say, I want to get 2 more of those. I want to get some more of those, because it was already growing, it was already showing them exactly what they wanted, and they just couldn't get enough of Hot Blonde. Hot Blonde, Matt actually gets the credit because he came up with the name because he says he named it after his wife, Amy. But this plant is going to have that hot yellow color out there in the landscape and garden. It's going to make a statement, make a good sized tree that'll contrast with a bright yellow that's going to give you a nice sized tree out in the landscape and garden with a lot of yellow. And that's what people want. They want something that's going to be flashy, that something's going to stand out. And it's amazing what Hot Blonde can do out in the landscape and garden. It really makes a beautiful tree with some bright yellow colors. And then, like I said before, the fall color, it's exceptional as well. So I hope you've enjoyed today's 5 yellow Japanese maples you need in your garden. This is actually part 2 of the series. I've got a whole nother part 1 where you can go check out my other 5 yellow Japanese maples you need in your garden. Yellow is one of my favorite colors. It gets me happy, makes me want to do a happy yellow dance. And these Japanese maples that are yellow are ones that you can put out in the garden to add extra color, extra contrast, bring out the rest of the colors in the garden, and really make your garden special. Guys, thanks so much. If you like this video, smash that like button, share this video with your gardening friends. Make sure you subscribe to us. We put out daily content on Japanese maples and gardening that you're sure to love. And as always, remember to shop with us at MrMaple.com. We really appreciate it. Take care, God bless, and have an awesome day.